Did you get a sense of what would make a good host just being around Rick because he had worked with all the different hosts?
Yeah, definitely. There was a lot to glean from that, especially as we started to, and the longer I was there, I got to sort of experience it firsthand as well. These shows are both comedy shows and talk shows. And so the people who host them have to be really versatile in terms of how they approach a show. And that is both in terms of like the tone of the comedy that they do, their interests, having a wide amount of a variety of interests, and wanting to talk to people and being interested in people and being good listeners. There is something really interesting right now about working at a time where so many people have opportunities to showcase what they would do were they to host a show. Podcasts obviously are a big part of that. YouTube and TikTok have created opportunities to do short form comedy and long form comedy in ways that were never really possible even 20 years ago. And so you get a chance to see a lot of what someone might be like were they to get their own show based on the types of things that they want to do and are interested in, and even what they decide to joke about on something like Twitter and how they deal with current events. They can do it instantaneously now. So we were always looking at those things when we were talking about hosts in that 2000s era. And also when it came to the idea of exposure to more people at an earlier time period, which again, in today's modern era, has a little less urgency to it probably than it did certainly in the early 90s and even in the mid 2000s. But being on at say 11:30 at night when you are following the late local news, there was a different expectation as to what you were supposed to talk about and how you presented yourself than say the 12:30 show or later shows, which had at that time a more of a wild, maybe anarchic feeling sometimes, depending on who it was or what they were doing. And even same thing with something like Saturday Night Live, the later it gets in that hour or the 90 minutes, the stranger the sketches get. So, and that's done, on purpose. It's, that sort of, the way that clock goes has always been really interesting. So that was all sort of like imbued, and some of it you kind of know based on just being a fan and watching them, and a lot of it you learn or a lot of it I learned from Rick when we talked about what he thought made a good host.